June 30th, 1996. At 5:31 in the morning, a 7-pound, 9-ounce baby boy entered the world, 20.5 inches long, named Stephen Michael Forte. His birth announcement carried a simple message: baseball, football, soccer, anyone? Look out, Little League, here comes our son. At the time, it was just a proud prediction from parents dreaming about their newborn's future. What they couldn't know was that the years ahead would tell a much bigger story. A story about determination, adventure, loyalty, friendship. A story about a kid who would grow into the kind of person who never stops moving forward, whether on a trail, on a road, in the stands cheering for his beloved Mets, or alongside the people lucky enough to call him family and friend. For 3 decades, Stephen Forte has collected miles, memories, stories, and unforgettable moments. The statistics only tell part of the story. The real story lives in the people he's inspired, the friendships he's built, and the adventures that continue to shape his life. This is the story of Stephen Forte. This is his 30 for 30. Before the miles, before the mountains, before the stories, there was simply a little boy named Stephen Michael Forte. Born on June 30th, 1996, Stephen entered the world surrounded by the love and hopes of a growing family. Like most parents, they couldn't know exactly who their son would become. They couldn't know the friendships he would build, the adventures he would chase, or the lives he would impact. But from the very beginning, there was something unmistakable about Stephen, a curiosity for life, a love for people, and a spirit that would eventually carry him far beyond where his story first began. Every legend has an origin story. This is Stephen's.
As a beautiful infant baby boy who was born at my house, who was a pretty good baby, although he cried a lot.
Having the privilege of being the older sibling and watching you grow up from the time you were born until your 30th birthday, one of the things that I have enjoyed watching you grow into is the things that you have dedicated your life to. From being young and dedicating yourself to the sports that you were playing, to the academics that you put yourself through, and all the career changes that you've done. It is something that I admire about you in committing to that.
Couldn't ask for a better, older cousin growing up, looking up to. So many things you should be proud of, going to Manhattan, being a runner there, getting your engineering degree, turning into a great pivoted career with helping the environment, planting trees all the way up in the Bronx, and so many other projects you have going on there, so successful. I think immediately when I first think of my memories with Stevie, just having Grandpa and Stevie playing little tennis at Gunther, in that little hallway where we used like the sewer as the middle of the court. And then we'd all go and make our own little Dude Perfect videos at that time, thinking it would be the next, things on YouTube. Which, going back and thinking at it, we really probably should have stuck to it given the social media phase that we're in this lifestyle. Maybe we could have done it. Or we could have just been talking Mets prospects like we have since Brandon Nimmo and Conforto were on the Mets in 2013 and 2012.
Some funny memories that I can think of from the young days are just his quick feet kind of scurrying around the beach house, that high squeaky voice, that shy kid who just loved a good grilled cheese. But yeah, happy 30th. Let's go Mets. Hopefully we can turn this thing around.
Play baseball. I mean, he enjoyed it, but I think he had a hard time trying to hit the ball.
We know how much you were a big baseball fan. I remember going to Spino Field and watching you play baseball. You always concentrated on hitting the ball hard because you knew once you hit it, they weren't getting you out because you were fast. And you got to first base, and I think everybody realized that. And then when you got to high school, you realized how fast you really were, becoming an all-county cross-country and track runner. So here we are at Met High School, celebrating your 30th birthday.
We're not running it, Stevie, though.
We're just here to show you where all the accolades and track records first started, gaining your confidence from here to Manhattan.
3 words to describe Stevie are kind, outgoing, and adventurous.
All right, Stevie, we're back, taking you down memory lane. We got through your sporting teams, we got through your track career, and we did talk about your landscaping career, but you also started somewhere else before you made all these decisions to become an agriculture engineer. It all started here. One of Aunt Janet's favorite places.
Yes.
Oops.
Yes,
Carvel here on Merrick Road in Wantor. I remember coming here a few times visiting you. So here it is, another birthday.
So when I think about Stevie and growing up with him, the word that comes to mind, I have two words, and it's magical and happy. Steve truly made my childhood so incredibly happy and magical. And yes, it's because we were a month and a half apart and we lived a mile away, but it goes beyond that. It goes that our bond was so incredibly close that it almost felt like we were twins. And we always wanted to have sleepovers together, have play dates. We wanted to be together and have fun and laugh together all the time. And looking back, I don't think there was another person that I would want to share all of my happiest childhood memories with. Even those milestones, communions, confirmations, graduations, Steve, there's nobody else that I would have, rather have shared those amazing memories with, even if we had to. Truly, looking back, I just was so happy to celebrate these things with you. But again, always just every single memory that I have with Steve, from Christmas to just family barbecues, watching Mets games. If you look at home tapes, we are always just running around laughing, and I could not have asked for a better cousin to go through my childhood with.
I first met Steven in high school Italian class, and he quickly became one of my closest friends. I think the moment that reflects Steven in my mind the most is when he held me captive in his car, the old Audi, may she rest in peace, and we were driving down the parkway to Jones Beach at sunset, listening to the soundtrack from the Hugo movie. And in that moment, I think I realized how special Steve is and just how sentimental he is.
What defines Steve as an adult is the amount of times he has puked in a house that I have owned. So he has puked in the house that I had on Marshall Street in the sink, and then he's puked at the top of my stairs after having a couple of beers for a Christmas power hour.
Steve and I go way back to freshman year at Manhattan College, back in the summer of 2014. Now, we were both on the cross-country team, which meant we got to go to school a few weeks early before the rest of the students. And that meant we were training, but also drinking a lot. Now, through this period, we got to do a lot of team bonding, meeting everyone. Something I noticed right away was how great a person Steve was and how much I thought we were going to be great friends. Turns out I was right. We ended up being roommates for 3 out of the 4 years. We had a lot of great memories together. Through all this journey, I realized and was very grateful for Steve and who he is and how great our friendship became. I know a lot of people, after going through college, they end up losing a lot of their friends. That didn't happen with Steve and I. We kept in touch because we became roommates right after college.
I met Steven on Hinge at the end of 2021, and it truly is the dating app meant to be deleted, and I can gladly say that I am the happiest, luckiest girl in the world, and I am forever grateful for that hellhole of an application because it has led to me being the happiest I've been in my entire life. And ever since I met Steven, things have just been easy in the sense that it's just so easy to be yourself around him. It's easy to feel at ease around him, and he makes you laugh, and just every second is just an absolute pleasure. And I think that really hit there's just one core memory that will be forever embedded into my brain, and that is in May of 2022 when we went to a Yankees-Orioles game together. And it was afterwards, we were outside of the stadium. I think it's called Heritage Park. It's where the old stadium was. And we found a baseball, and I don't know if we went to have a catch or what happened, but somehow we ended up using a giant traffic cone as a baseball bat and just playing like little kids. I took my shoes off and we were just running around in the dirt, and I have some cheesy little videos and I'm shrieking like a little girl, having an absolute blast. And luckily, that's how I felt every day since I've known him. He just brings out this joy in me that honestly I didn't really know was even in there. And I think that will be that is one of the happiest days of my life, which sounds really silly because it's just like two kids playing baseball in a park, but that really was the start of me. Hold on. Ooh, the table's messy. Okay.
Good job, Steve.
Some people find happiness in the things they collect. Some people find it in the places they go. And for Steve Forte, it has always been about the journey to get there. From an early age, Steve has always been drawn to the outdoors. The trees, the trails, the quiet moments that most people might pass right by. To him, nature was never just something to look at. It was something to experience, something to explore, something to appreciate. Whether it was a long run, a hike that turned into an adventure, or simply finding a new place to wander, Steve has always had a way of turning the world into something worth discovering. And maybe that's what makes those moments so special. It's not just about reaching the destination. It's about everything that happens along the way. The stories, the unexpected moments, the people beside him, and the memories created along the path. Because for Steve, adventure has never really been about escaping from life. It's about being fully present for it. The outdoors is where Steve seems the most at peace, where the noise fades away, where he can run a little farther, explore a little more, and appreciate the little things that others might miss. And maybe that's one of the reasons people love being around him. Steve reminds people to slow down, look around, and remember that there is always something new to discover. Because the best adventures aren't always about where you end up. They're about who you become along the way.
Enjoyed the outdoors and working with nature and trees and all that. You know, bushes, grass. I have no idea. But he found his niche, and he's happy with it. So I'm happy about that for him.
Stevie's love for adventure and nature is something that has been so amazing to witness and see and develop over the years. He was always the kid that wanted to be outdoors, play outside, and explore. But as he's gotten older, he's really embraced that, and it's an amazing quality. And the fact that he changed his career path to do something that he's very passionate about and loves is just so incredible. You know, when Stevie is outdoors and in nature and with the trees, he's probably the most at peace you'll ever find him. And I really respect that he is doing things that, again, he's passionate about and he loves, but is also very helpful for everybody around us. So I also remember his love for adventure is that when he went to Europe to backpack about a month by himself for the most part after graduating college. And I thought that's scary. Like, are you sure? And I was going for about a week with my friends, and I was like low-key scared. But to see Steve do that with such confidence, and it was just so cool. And I definitely looked up to that, and it definitely helps that we crossed paths on our trips, because knowing that he was there was very comforting. And not only was it comforting, it was also very helpful because I did, in fact, need Stevie to help us get on the right train to the Amalfi Coast. So thanks for that, and helping us finish our liters of wine that I still couldn't tell you how much a liter of wine is.
Thank you for always preserving our forests and making sure that someone's out there looking after the plants and making sure the earth is becoming a better place. I seriously admire you for that.
Stevie is the happiest when he is camping, hiking, or doing anything in the outdoors.
One thing that's actually really cool about him is that he does hold a lot of space in his heart for his interests, which I would say are baseball and nature. And I love seeing Steven in nature because he's so happy, and I guess at peace is a better way to describe it. And his emotions are very contagious, where when he's serene and at peace, it's very calming and it really centers you. And when he's happy and laughing, you can't help but smile too. It is completely contagious, and it's one of the things that makes being around him so great. If I had to be stuck on an island with somebody, it would absolutely be Steven. Not just because he's so funny and sweet, and I love him, but he could also get you off of the island. He's very handy, and that is also a really great thing about him.
Steve is very independent. You know, he goes camping on his own in the middle of the winter. That's something a lot of us would be very afraid to do, myself included. He's very authentic and true to himself. He did something a lot of us also wouldn't do. You know, me and Steve studied engineering in college, and Steve worked in engineering a few years after college, and then decided that wasn't for him, and what his true passion was nature and serving the environment. And I can't think of a more noble thing to do, and also a more gutsy thing to do. And if there's anyone who embodies authenticity, that's Steve. The last thing I'll say about Steve is that this man is a lifesaver. He's got life-saving qualities, literally. Him and I were stupidly kayaking in the Mohawk River up where I grew up in Albany. And this is in the dead of winter, January. No life jackets. For whatever reason, I may have been trying to, splash Steve in the kayak, and I fell in, and I was freezing in the freezing water, could not move. And Steve went and saved my life. He dragged me back to shore when the current was probably going too fast for me to actually swim myself. So I'm forever grateful for the man, and I think that's just who he is. He's always there for you.
After running your marathon, you went to Manhattan College, you studied engineering. We weren't sure what part of engineering you were gonna achieve, but the one thing you finally ended up was landscaping. So here we are in front of one of the landscaping places here in Belmore for your love of the outdoors, the love of trees, planting flowers. Very proud of the project you put together up in the Bronx. So here's another memory. Off we go.
Very
Happy
proud.
birthday.
Happy birthday, Stevie.
Every great story has a moment that, looking back years later, makes you realize maybe the signs were always there. And for Steve Forte, one of those moments came during a simple trip to McDonald's. Like any kid, Steve knew exactly what he wanted, a cheeseburger, but with one very important request. A cheeseburger with no brown stuff. A simple request, at least to Steve, but somewhere between a child's explanation and a fast food employee trying to understand what exactly brown stuff meant. Things got complicated because what Steve meant was simple, no meat. What everyone else heard was apparently something else entirely. And time after time, the order would come out wrong. And every time, Steve would react exactly how Steve reacted to everything he cared about, with passion, emotion, and absolutely no ability to hide how he felt. The world may have been confused by the request. Steve was not. He knew what he wanted. Years later, the joke became even better. Because the kid who couldn't get McDonald's to understand no brown stuff grew up to become a vegetarian. Maybe it wasn't a phase. Maybe it was the beginning of the story. And maybe that's what everyone who knows Steve has always loved most about him. He has always been Steve, specific, passionate, a little different, completely himself. And honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way.
We used to go to McDonald's. And he always ordered a hamburger without the brown stuff. It was like, oh, I don't know what this is all about. But he knew what he wanted. So we used to take him and his friend across the street to McDonald's. So that was the funniest thing with him.
Obviously, the first time I was able to take you through a drive-through when I was able to drive, that was Wendy's, and you forced me to tell the drive-through teller that you wanted a cheeseburger with no brown stuff.
So a story or memory from our childhood and kind of how Stevie is today as a vegetarian. Stevie, when we would go to McDonald's or any place that had burgers, Stevie would always say he just wanted the cheese and the bun. Nothing else on it, no meat, no ketchup, no pickles, nothing. And there was one time we went to McDonald's with our Pop, and Stevie said, no meat, no ketchup, no pickles, nothing, just the cheese and the burger bun. And Stevie got so upset when everything came on it. He started crying and was just upset that it happened, which turns out years later, Stevie becoming a vegetarian.
So I'd say what defines Steve as a kid is taking him to go get McDonald's and him ordering a cheeseburger, but you could not have the brown stuff. And if there was brown stuff, he would have a bit of a meltdown.
When you're ready, you can move to the next one.
Thank you.
So Ralph, just me to understand this, you ordered a cheeseburger, right, without the burger?
I actually ordered it with the burger, Steve. But this is still one of the memories from your childhood, ordering a cheeseburger without the burger. But I'm having my burger. Janet's having the burger. But we had to do the last stop here. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to bring up this memory.
Loyalty is easy when things are going well. Anyone can celebrate championships. Anyone can enjoy victory. But true loyalty is tested in the difficult years. And if that's true, then Stephen Forte may be one of the most loyal people you'll ever meet. For decades, he has invested his time, his energy, his hope, and occasionally his emotional well-being into a baseball team that has rarely made life easy. Season after season, game after game, heartbreak after heartbreak. Yet somehow, every spring, the belief returns. Maybe this year, maybe this team, maybe this miracle. Because being a Mets fan was never really about winning. It was about faith. And if there is one thing Stephen Forte has never lacked, it's faith. 30 years later, the championship may still be missing, but the loyalty never wavered. And honestly, that might be even more impressive.
Went through a lot of highs and lows. A low being the Mets losing the World Series, a high being us getting there.
You know, I knew Steven liked baseball. I knew he was a big Mets fan, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I'm not saying it would be off-putting, but I am saying it is borderline crazy because he asks to be quizzed on David Wright's like stat lines and stuff like that for every single year, and he knows the answers. He has them memorized. He could recite them in his sleep, and he's always on Baseball Reference. He's always on that page. It's crazy. I'm not even kidding. Probably an entire third of his search history is just Baseball Reference. And I really like that he's passionate about it, even though it is a little bit insane.
We are here wearing your two favorite sports teams. I know growing up with you, one of our favorite moments was in your house and my house, either rooting for the Jets
Or the Mets.
Or the Mets, you know, during a playoff game or some sort of run. And I know how special one of the games was with you and our family in Citi Field with a comeback in Washington. So those are one of the special things we remember of you growing up, being a loyal and trustworthy fan. So anyone that doubts your loyalty, 30 years later, you still root for the Jets and Mets. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd like to share one of my favorite Steven stories. I'll call it Steve's Trojan horse moment. So back in the day, we used to award the Player of the Month award to one of the Yankees each month. So this one month they asked if I want to present the award on the field. I told them, sure. I said, I'll do it. But I did ask him, I said, could my son come with me and present the award with me, my son Steven? So he said, sure. So we didn't know who the player was. We didn't find out to the day of the game. We show up at the stadium. Out of respect for the Yankees, Steve and I are wearing our navy blue and white. We go down onto the field, and to our surprise, we find out the award's going to A-Rod. He had a great month. And the year now is 2006. So we present the watch. We presented this really nice watch to him. We gave it to him on the field. And right after we present the watch to him, he starts to walk away. He was going to a friend in the stands, I guess, to give the watch to hold for him. And I said to myself, I said, A-Rod's a little bit of a jerk. You have a little kid here, and he really didn't acknowledge Steven. So anyway, fairness to A-Rod, he must have caught himself halfway towards the stands and realized, hey, I didn't say hi to that little kid. He comes back, he reintroduces himself, he asks Steve what his name is and all that. And he decided at the end of the conversation, he shakes hands with Steven and he leaves. So I'm walking back to the dugout. We got to go into the dugout, into the tunnels under the stadium. And on our walk back, I turned around and I said, Steve, what a great experience that was. He said, Dad, he said, I'm tired of the Yankees winning the World Series. So what I just did with A-Rod is I gave him the handshake of doom. And to Steve's credit, it worked. 2006, the Yankees won the Eastern Division title, but they lost in the ALDS to the Tigers. So Steve, congratulations, your Trojan horse moment.
Every friend group has one. The person who can turn a 5-minute story into a 30-minute adventure. The person who remembers every detail, every side character, every unnecessary tangent, and somehow makes each one better than the last. For Steven Forte, storytelling isn't just something he does. It's who he is. Because when Steven tells a story, you're never just hearing what happened. You're there. You're meeting the people, you're experiencing the chaos, you're laughing before you even know why. And somewhere between the punchline and the plot twist, you realize the secret to every great Steven Forte story. It was never really about the story itself. It was about making the people around him smile. And for 30 years, that's exactly what he's done.
So every story that includes Stevie, the only person that can tell it the best is Stevie. I think that when I immediately think of Stevie, I think of the way that he's able to make people laugh. And it's typically usually by him telling a story. And most of the time he's his own punchline. He's telling stories that are embarrassing about him, things that are a typical day, but is still hysterical. He could be sick as a dog on a train and we are still laughing at him. But he just has this amazing ability to tell a story and make it come to life. And it's such a great quality that I think a lot of people are very lucky to have a friend or someone that they know who is able to do that. And Steve, you are a true storyteller.
Steve's very charismatic. Back in college, we dressed up for Halloween. Yeah, this is not something I would normally do, but we dressed up as Kingsmen from the movie The Kingsman. So Steve was Eggsy and I was Harry. So we were both kind of spies. If you've never seen the movie, they're like English spies. And we were wearing suits and everything that they wore in the movie. We went to a bar together, and Steve, being Steve, was trying the whole night to convince the bartender and all the patrons of the bar that he was British. Now, this bar was a college bar. There are definitely some Manhattan college people there, but nonetheless, Steve's charisma, was pretty inspiring. I was being my quiet self, just admiring Steve in his glory doing all that. So that's a great memory I had with Steve.
I can just think of so many things that he said that just put me into hysterics. One thing that we all know about is when he joined his work softball team and he was trying to play it cool, with his baseball experience and, how good he was. And he fell, I believe, 3 times trying to make a throw from the outfield. And even just thinking about him retelling this story, I giggle again like a little girl, because he just brings out this joy in me that I'm so grateful for.
Some people measure a life by accomplishments. Others measure it by the people they leave behind. The easiest way to understand Stephen Forte isn't through statistics. It's through the people, the friends who answer the phone, the family members who know they can always count on him, the countless stories that begin with the words, "Remember that time, Steve." Because somewhere along the way, Stephen became more than the main character in his own story. He became part of everyone else's, a trusted friend, a loyal son, a dependable brother, a close cousin, a fun uncle, a source of laughter, encouragement, and unforgettable memories. And while accomplishments fade with time, this is the legacy that lasts, the impact we leave on the people around us. By that measure, Stephen Forte has had an incredible 30 years.
Oh, just his accomplishments, his studying in school, his marks, his teachers. He excelled in a lot. Yeah, very proud of him.
What I admire most about Stevie is his dedication and not giving up on what he puts his mind to.
Honestly, ever since starting to date Joey, you've been such a nice person for me to meet and see at all the family events. You've been so welcoming and warm to me, and I don't think you realize how much that means to me. So truly, thank you for always being such a friendly face to come to through all the family events.
I've always appreciated the levity that he's brought to my life and I've gotten from our friendship. I've learned so much from him. He's the type of person who always picks up the phone. He's very reflective and very just much like a go-getter. Like, he thinks about what he wants and then he'll build around him what he needs to get it done. And I think that's something that I've learned a lot about him. And I think all of those are things that are going to serve him very well in his 30s. So
Having the privilege of being the older sibling and watching you grow up from the time you were born until your 30th birthday, one of the things that I have enjoyed watching you grow into is the things that you have dedicated your life to. From being young and dedicating yourself to the sports that you were playing, to the academics that you put yourself through, and all the career changes that you've done. It is something that I admire about you in committing to that.
But it's always cool to be able to catch up. I think one of my favorite memories that we have is that me, Tatiana, and Meg watched probably the worst Met game in history of Game 2 of the Wild Card Series here in Floral Park. That was just something special, me being with Meg and you being with Tatiana and just having such a great time together, and hopefully building that future with, our family for the next eons, as the kids would say.
And for having known Stevie so long and entering this new phase in his life, I have full confidence that no matter what he does, what he puts his mind to, he will succeed. And even if he doesn't succeed, he will try his absolute hardest to accomplish them. Stevie is so admirable in a lot of ways, and I think that all of his amazing qualities, between a hard worker, genuinely himself, kind, it's just something that I know will carry through him throughout his life, and everything that he will experience in the next 30 years and beyond will be everything that he deserves and earns. There's nobody more deserving than Steve to have the most amazing, amazing life.
Number one is dependable. Steve is always there when you need him to be. When you're at your lows, or when you just want to go out, or anything in between. So he's always there, and that's a rare quality. People, especially as they get older and work becomes tiresome, and people have things going on. So I really appreciate that. I think that's just who he is. He's always there for you. So Steve, hope you have a great birthday. Thanks for being who you are.
My favorite quality of Steve is how much he loves not only my dog Cooper, but my kids, Maddie and Addie. He is a very great uncle for him. And as he has gotten older, he's also become a really great gift giver, and he puts a lot of thought into the gifts that he gives people. So
one thing that always comes to my mind when I think about Stevie is just his ability to do things on his terms, and kind of stand up what he believes in. Always a free spirit, not one of those guys that's just going to kind of go with the flow. He's always going to do things that his heart is set on, and that's admirable. I think we need more people to do things and chase things that we love and live their life with a very meaningful purpose. And to me, that is something that Stevie does very, very well.
Steven is such a beautiful person inside and out, and all of us just are so lucky to know him. He is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. That sounds dramatic, but it is the truth. He is just, Amanda, you're gonna have to cut a lot of this out. But yeah, and as I've gotten to know Steven's wonderful friends and family, I can see where he gets his personality from. He's so magnetic and sweet, and everyone, all of the Fortes, all of the Franzises, you raised a wonderful, wonderful man, and he's the light of my life. He really is.
Happy birthday, Steve. You're not very good at power hours, but you're pretty good at pinball.
For 30 years, we have followed the journey of Stephen Forte. We have heard the stories. We have seen the adventures. We have laughed at the moments only Steve could create. We have watched him chase finish lines, explore new places, tell unforgettable stories, and somehow continue believing that one day the Mets will finally deliver the championship he deserves. We have seen the friend, the teammate, the adventurer, the storyteller, the person who brings laughter and happiness into the lives of everyone around him. But before Stephen was all of those things, before he became someone so many people were lucky enough to know, he was simply a son. 30 years ago, Doreen and Stephen Forte welcomed a baby boy into their lives, a little boy they named Stephen Michael Forte, a little boy they dreamed about, a little boy they hoped would grow into someone kind, caring, and someone who would make a difference. And somehow, all these years later, they get to look back and realize he became exactly that, because no one has been there for every chapter quite like they have. They were there for the first smile, the first steps, the first dreams. They watched him grow into the person he is today. And while the rest of us know different versions of Stephen, his friends know the storyteller, his adventure partners know the explorer, his family knows the person who always shows up. But Doreen and Stephen Forte know the person behind it all. They know the little boy they brought into this world. And to them, no matter how many miles he runs, mountains he climbs, or stories he tells, he will always be their son. He will always be Stephen.
Buongiorno, Stefano. This is your tree of life. Enjoy. Hey, son. 3 words to describe you. Adventurous, constantly trying new things. Intellectual, always feeding your brain. Kind, being the most important. Some notable childhood memories. Your christening day when we left you at home and drove down the block, just a short ways before we realized you were not in the car. Hey, you were our 4th child. The Vermont vacation when you were fishing and got the hook caught in your eye. You were so brave. Us, not so much. As a boy, your go-to was a cheese sandwich. Who knew back then that you would become a vegetarian? It was always a crapshoot if McDonald's got your order right. Your work ethic really shined when you began your high school summer 500-mile running goal. I'll never forget your first Bethpage race in the fall when you came out of the woods, and you were the leader of the pack. Dad and I were so proud. You were home from college and decided to go skateboarding with Andrew. Now, being a collegiate runner, I thought perhaps this wasn't the best activity, especially if your coach found out. However, when you returned, you said how much fun you had. Fun won over commitment. Then, right after dinner, you walked from the kitchen into the den and, long story short, bone fracture and boot cast for 6 weeks. Keep having fun. Lastly, your relationship with the outdoors. I would say the word nature, change the A to U, add an R to make it nurture. You have evolved your passion of the outdoors into a lifelong adventure, from hiking to kayaking to skiing to camping, and now as Director of Conservation and Land Stewardship. As you begin this new decade, may it be filled with many new exciting adventures, funny, comical stories, great health, prosperity, and hopefully a Mets series wins. And remember to always call your mama. Love you. Happy 30th birthday, Stephen.
Hey, Steve. I'm going to try to answer the question, what do I think makes Steve happiest? Had a lot of fun putting it together. Hope I got it right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Segment 1, The Great Migration. What if the place you're meant to be isn't a place at all? For Stephen, college graduation wasn't the finish line. It was the starting point. Since leaving for college, he's built a life defined by independence, curiosity, and adventure. With every new career opportunity came a new address. Elmhurst, Hoboken, Astoria, Seneca Falls, Peekskill. 5 moves and 5 fresh starts. Each city offered something different, a challenge, a lesson, a chance to build life from the ground up. He wasn't running from anything, he was chasing possibility. While others search for stability, Steve pursues growth, betting that every relocation will bring him one step closer to the future he imagines. Because this story isn't about moving, it's about the relentless search for purpose and the places that help shape the person he's become. Segment 2, The Storyteller. Every family has a storyteller. In our family, that storyteller is Stephen. If happiness leaves clues, Stephen has spent years turning them into stories. Every family gathering, every trip, every unexpected mishap eventually becomes part of the collection. Stories where he's somehow both the hero and the punchline. Whether recounting one of his many adventures, misadventures, or moments of questionable decision-making, Stephen has mastered the art of making people laugh, especially at himself. And honestly, Nobody tells a story better than Steven. Segment 3, The Rise of a Dart Legend. Great athletes often credit legendary coaches for their success. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. Tom Brady had Bill Belichick. Steven had Dynamite Dave. Under Dave's watchful eye and countless hours of practice, Steven transformed from dart enthusiast into someone who occasionally makes people nervous standing across the hockey. The results speak for themselves, the confidence, the precision, and hopefully one day he'll be able to yell "barbecue sauce" when he closes out a legendary 170. Segment 4, The Scholar Athlete. What if I told you the same guy who spent years training his body eventually found a way to compete using everything stored in his brain? Steve's the definition of a scholar athlete. He ran cross country and track in high school and college, and then went on to finish in the top 20 in the Nashville Marathon. He played the saxophone in high school and later kept the music going with friends during a Mardi Gras in New Orleans. In the classroom, he's just as relentless. Honor roll student, partial academic scholarship to Manhattan College, electrical engineering degree, and then, in a move that proved he was always thinking a few steps ahead, he changed careers while earning a master's degree in environmental stewardship. For years, Steve chased finish lines, diplomas, and professional goals. These days, Steve participates in one of the most competitive events known to modern civilization, Trivia Night. The competition is fierce, the stakes are questionable, and the glory is mostly symbolic. Need to identify a baseball player from a blurry photo? Steve's the man to call on. Need to remember the capital of a country nobody's thought about since 8th grade geography? Steve's got a guess. Need someone to passionately defend an answer that turns out to be completely wrong? Steve's available for that too. For Steven, it's the perfect combination of friends, laughter, competition, and the opportunity to turn random facts stored in his brain into something useful. Winning is nice, being right is even better, but spending an evening with people he enjoys, that's what keeps him coming back. Segment 5, The Mets Clause. To understand Steve's happiness, you must first understand his relationship with the Mets. Like many lifelong Mets fans, Steve understands joy, but he also understands suffering. He's truly happiest when he's watching a game in person, enjoying the atmosphere at Citi Field, one of the best stadiums in baseball. We've enjoyed attending every home opener for more than 20 years. They usually win, and that starts another year of baseball optimism, at least until the All-Star game. Steve has celebrated exciting regular season runs and playoff victories and endured some dreadful seasons when the team didn't perform. But when the Mets are winning, the sun shines a little brighter, food tastes a little better, and optimism returns to the universe. Segment 6, Nina. Every great outdoorsman needs a trusted companion. For Steven, that companion has long ears and a strong opinion about vegetables. That companion is a bunny named Nina. Nina doesn't climb mountains, she doesn't paddle rivers, but she's mastered the art of making him smile. And sometimes, happiness is exactly that simple. Segment 7, Uncle Steve. To Kenzie, Maddie, and Addie, he's not just Steven, he's Uncle Steve. Chief entertainer, lead goofball, part-time jungle gym, and full-time favorite. Whether making silly faces, doing goofy dance moves, attempting awkward gymnastics positions, telling jokes, or creating chaos that somehow remains parent-approved, some of Steven's happiest moments involve hearing the laughter of his 3 nieces. Segment 8, Tatiana. Every great adventure becomes better when shared, and the person Steven is sharing life's adventures with is Tatiana. Together they've built a life filled with travel, exploration, laughter, and countless shared adventures. The destinations matter. The experiences matter. But partnerships matter most. Some happiness isn't found in a place, it's found in a person. And for Stephen, that person is Tatiana. Segment 9, The Lone Explorer. Some people see a river and think, that's nice. Stephen sees a river and thinks, I wonder where that goes. Among his many outdoor pursuits, kayaking has become one of Stephen's favorite ways to explore the world around him. In true Stephen fashion, he found a solution that perfectly fits with apartment living. A foldable portable kayak that can be packed away when not in use and deployed whenever adventure calls. Most people keep extra blankets in their apartment closet. Stephen keeps a boat. From the waterways around New York City to the lakes and rivers of upstate New York, he's paddled through some remarkable scenery, discovering places that can only be appreciated from the water. And while many kayakers enjoy paddling with a partner, Stephen often prefers a solo expedition. Fortunately, Stephen approaches his adventures responsibly. He uses proper safety gear, stays prepared, and has GPS access available should anything bad happen. Still, every time he heads out alone, family members engage in the traditional outdoor sport pastime known as checking their phones until Stephen texts that he's back. It's easy to see why kayaking brings Stephen so much happiness. Out on the water, there are no deadlines, no traffic, no distractions. Just the sound of the paddle, beauty of nature, and the freedom to explore at his own pace. For someone who's always loved independence, adventure, and outdoors, a kayak is more than just a boat. It's another way to find the places where he feels most at peace. Segment 10, The Forest Maker. Most hikers spend their lives walking through forests. Stephen decided to build one. After a period of extensive research, Stephen coordinated with a nonprofit group in Sweden to get the funding to build a pocket forest in New York City known as the Lungs of the Bronx. Steve worked tirelessly for more than a year planning and designing all of the project details and coordinating with the local school to secure the parcel of land for the forest. The pocket forest is located on the grounds of Mount St. Michael Academy. This remarkable project transformed approximately 4,000 square feet of land into a thriving ecosystem designed to benefit both people and wildlife for generations to come. The forest includes more than 36 native species and over 1,500 trees, shrubs, and plants, carefully selected to recreate the diversity and resilience of the natural forest. It's the kind of work whose greatest reward won't arrive for decades. But that's the point. Happiness isn't always about what you get. Sometimes it's about what you leave behind. Segment 11, Where Happiness Lives. If we really want to know when Steve is happiest, don't look for him in a city. Look for him on a trail, deep in the woods, hiking a mountain trail, or setting up a tent and lighting a campfire. For years, Steve has climbed mountains and hiked trails all across the country. Together, we've been working towards the goal of hiking all 33 Catskill peaks, over 3,500 feet. This is where Steve seems most present, most relaxed, and most himself. After a long Catskill hike, we usually have an overnight stay at the Blue Hill Lodge and a well-earned meal and a beer at the Russian Mule. The mountains provide a challenge, the outdoors provide peace, the food provides recovery, and the conversation provides the entertainment and the memories. Because that's what Steve does. He creates experiences and memories. Hey Steve, I hope I got it right. What makes Steve happiest? But I think it's not just one moment, it's a collection of moments. At 30 years old, you've figured out something that most people spend a lifetime chasing. Happiness isn't found waiting at the end of a finish line. It's all the little things along the way. Well, Steve, I love you. Happy 30th birthday.
30 years ago, they said, "Look out, little league, here comes our son." They had no idea.
Happy birthday to you. You're 102. You birthday to